So hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to Chicago. We got Wednesday, October the 22nd, 2025, and we got a bridge lift today. You see, this is the DuSable Michigan Avenue Bridge. We're opposite the Wrigley building. I was able to run out of the office. I don't know if any of that streamed or not. And we got to this point here. We got 10:35 in the a.m. So I am streaming earlier than I usually for our lunchtime walk here because I wanted to catch the Michigan Avenue Bridge. We missed it last Wednesday. They were already on the Wabash. They started in Lake Michigan. These bridge lifts happen in the fall and spring. They're lifting the Wabash Avenue Bridge already. So here we'll head towards the Wabash Avenue Bridge. It's amazing how quickly and fast they'll move through here. So we'll follow along. I counted 9 sailboats. We got 9 sailboats here on the Chicago River. And we got a cool, clammy day here, 50 degrees. And look, there's the Michigan Avenue Bridge in the upright position there, the Tribune and the Wrigley buildings here. See, they pull aside as they wait. See, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? And so we'll head through here. Nebula. Yeah, we'll follow along with the crowd here. Oops, how you doing? So, hey, look. There we go, look at that. Yeah, they're filming it. So, Chicago Riverwalk. How you doing? Yeah, that's the Wabash Avenue Bridge there. We saw this last Wednesday. We're seeing it again here. Thanks for tuning in here. See, we're opposite the Trump Tower, Chicago, Illinois. There's the, mission accomplished. It's not accomplished, accomplished. Yeah, there's the Michigan Avenue Bridge. They only opened the northern half. We walked across that bridge this morning. We got to see it from Michigan Avenue. I don't know if that's streamed or not. We got 9 sailboats heading there. It's coming down. Look how fast this thing comes down here. Let's zoom in and get it here. See, it's 2 levels. You can drive on the bottom and the top. These are Bascule drawbridges. They have a fulcrum, a counterweight underneath there. And there's quite a crowd here today, here October the 22nd, 2025, here to watch the sailboats, 9 sailboats, head under these Bascule bridges and head into the winter storage. There's the Windella here. Look at that beautiful view here. Look at all these sailboats here, the Marina Towers. Thanks for tuning in here. Hope you're having a good day. Yeah, we'll head over here. We'll go with the flow. We'll go with the, well, see, this river runs backwards. This is the same Chicago River that was reversed over 100 years ago. It's pretty much like a canal. So look, just that quickly. Chris, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Chris Schultz there. Yeah, we saw the Michigan Avenue Bridge lower there. They already made it through. So we'll follow along these sailboats as they head under Wabash Avenue. Here's the tall Trump Tower. Second tallest building in Chicago. We're on the Chicago Riverwalk here, opposite O'Brien's. You know, and I'm easily excited. I like planes, trains, and automobiles, but I also like sailboats, and I like drawbridges, Bascule bridges, these engineering feats. Look, there's the Jewelers Building. We'll get good views of the skyline of Chicago. The dogs like it. Yeah, the dogs came out to watch these sailboats. And the good thing about this, I know not a lot of people are available at this time because, like me, you're usually working at this time. You know, I left the office to have an early lunch here and follow along with these sailboats for as long as we can. I'll eventually have to head back to work there. Sometimes we see the workers like inspecting the bridges when they're in the upright position. You'll see them actually inside where the gears are and stuff and across the way. But here's the Wabash Avenue Bridge here. Oops, you got people taking pictures here. Look at that. And again, it's just the weight of, or the tons and tons and tons of steel can be lifted by what it's equivalent of a car horsepower motor, like a 300 horsepower motor could lift this because it's balanced on the fulcrum. The counterweights are heavier than the bridge, but they got them balanced. And the counterweights are hidden under the abutments. They're actually below there. And you go in the bridge house, you can see the gears and the motors and the controls. They have all these bridge houses here. Christopher, how you doing there? Yeah, Christopher, thanks for tuning in there. No, I appreciate it. Thanks for, you know, right where we're at here. Isn't it amazing that if you're ever in Chicago in the spring or fall, on Wednesdays and Saturdays, usually around this time, 10:30 to past the lunch hour. And in the fall, they start at Lake Michigan and they go this way. In the spring, they start in Chinatown and they go this way. So that's why I have to start earlier in the fall, because they started at Lake Michigan probably at 9 a.m. and they made it this far. We're across from the Chicago Brew House. See, there's the Jewelers Building. And hey, they got the mums out for the Vietnam War Memorial here. See, they're working on the State Street Bridge, so they'll probably only open half of it. This is near the Marina Towers here, the corncob buildings. We have 9 sailboats that I counted. There you see them there, and there's the Wabash Bridge in the upright position there. So let me count them again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 sailboats. So hey, we got a good group here, much larger than last week. Our Sturdy, how you doing there, our Sturdy? Chicago River Walk, Chicago River, and we're up to State Street, that great street. Yeah, it is a beautiful view. We'll get over here where they're at, and we'll be able to see the Wrigley Building underneath, or right in the center of the Wabash Avenue, and as it closes there. Yeah, look at that. Maybe we'll head right here. A lot of times people fish here. We just get this beautiful scene there, the Mather Tower on the right there. Yeah, the corncob buildings, that's what it looks like. It's 2 corncobs. It's a big lump with knobs there. Bertrand Goldberg's the architect. And we'll go by him there. There's the Marina Towers there, the corncob buildings in Chicago. People have always affectionately called them that. Isn't it amazing? Yeah, we personify what buildings kind of look like. Christopher's doing good. Hey, you've been streaming a lot there. Check out Christopher Dotson in New York. Great New York content. And yeah. There it comes. There it is. The Wabash Avenue Bridge is starting to close. So we'll focus right here. See, it almost looks like it's pinching the Wrigley Building. Photographer's dream here. You get this beautiful view with the sailboats. And hear the dinging of the bell. But that's the good news. If people miss this, if they're working, they can watch the reruns. That's the good thing about YouTube. Christopher knows as well. You use Prism, I use Streamlabs. It's good to know. You're in good company. This Gemini uses Prism as well. He uses Prism on top of his YouTube. This Gemini covered some of the same things that Ernesto and I and Jody GTV covered this weekend. And we saw him on Michigan Avenue yesterday, another prolific live streamer on YouTube. Look how you can see to the John Hancock. You can look through the gap there. The John Hancock's about a mile north of us, and it's almost the same height as Trump. The Trump has a tower on it. And here comes the Robert H. water taxi under the State Street Bridge. Yeah, this is always interesting because we have seen boat accidents. We have seen interaction in past bridge lifts between the architectural tour boats and the sailboats because it gets congested. And boats, bigger boats, always feel like they have the right of way, and the sailboats that's why they usually pull to the side. And that boat got pretty close. And we have seen interaction, a boat hit and run. The boat captain actually stopped and got my footage and used it as insurance. I said, as long as I'm not deposed in court, just don't make me show up to court. I'll give you my footage. Hopefully he was able to win his insurance claim there. Larry Duncan, how you doing there? Yeah, thanks for tuning in there. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, the Trump building is very controversial, and I have to film it, you know, because I live in the city. I did film the No Kings protest. You know, I usually get flack for leaning too much to the left, so you don't have to worry about. Yeah, you can make fun of the Trump Tower all you want. We got footage of people flipping it off. The inflatable unicorn saying war zone in front of the Trump Tower out of sarcasm because welcome to the war zone in Chicago. Yeah, it's such a war zone. We're having a bridge lift for the sailboats and all these people came out here to watch it on a gloomy 50-degree day here, Wednesday. And we're gonna wait for the State Street Bridge to open. And this is usually what happens. See, the boats get kind of, they're trapped in between the Wabash and State. And until this opens, they gotta either pull to the side or keep spinning around in the middle, waiting for the next, get to the next block between the bridges. Well, truth, you can have Trump. You can have him all you want. You got him for the next 3 years, so live it up. You're living in your America, the America you want to live in, you know, but understand that not all of us are happy with it. Thanks for understanding. There's different viewpoints, just like I'm sure you were probably miserable under the Biden administration. Now you're loving it. Now all us that are on the opposite side of the equation here, we get to suffer and get punished, and you can bash Chicago. People bash Chicago anyway, but we're not going to let that stop this. I still love this city, and we'll cover the city even in the wintertime, and even on gloomy days like today, because it's really not that bad. It's 50 degrees, it's not raining. See, people are wearing heavier jackets, hoodies, and here we got Nebula. This is a beautiful boat here. See if we see anybody we know. We see some of these same people. We saw the Tantra before. We saw the Tantra this spring. See, already pedestrian traffic's moving on the Wabash. And this is, you know, covering the bridge lifts is kind of frustrating because it's a lot of waiting around. A lot of times they'll get to a bridge, especially the bridges where the CTA trains go across, and you have to wait a long time until they clear out the trains before they, and this one, since it's under construction, let's show you the construction here while we're waiting here. So see, they're working on this bridge. They've been doing welding. You see sparks and things go. They got a barge here that they can lift a boom, and they got pieces of the bridge actually removed. And they've been working on the State Street Bridge here for the better part of this summer. And so the reason the sailboats are doing this, Chicago has a cold winter, so we have a nice boating community here because of Lake Michigan and all the harbors. We have literally some of the more boat slips than most cities outside of LA and Miami Beach or Miami, Florida. But every year in the spring, they have to get the boats out of the water because in the wintertime this river freezes over. Sometimes the lake freezes over, and so in the fall they get the boats out of the harbors of Lake Michigan. And see, they have fixed masts. Some sailboats can fold down their masts. These are real sailboats that you don't want to do that because, you know, the strength of your whole boat to the keel is through your mast. It catches all your wind power. And so the city, the Chicago Department of Transportation, see these bridge houses. Every Wednesday and Saturday, there's a window where if enough boats sign up, they say, okay, everybody show up at 9 o'clock at the mouth of the Chicago River past the locks, and you'll pulse everybody through. And so they already went through the Michigan, the Lakeshore Drive Bridge. They went through the Columbus Bridge, Michigan Avenue, Wabash. Now they're to State Street. They'll go all the way to Dearborn. I think it's like 29 bridges they got to go through. Most of them go south of Chinatown. They go down the South Branch. And some of the boats are completely pulled out of the water. Some of them, I think most of them are. And they do, you know, dry winter storage, and then in the spring they put them back in, they reverse it, they take them out, and this goes on to probably the end of November or the middle of November. So hey, we'll see if they're gonna open the State Street Bridge here. We'll kind of wait around here. Leila, how you doing there? Yeah, I like that script there, the official. Hey, is that JAVS? Is that what that is? I can't. It's a nice script there, Mr. Larry Duncan. How you doing there, Jeremy? Yeah, they gotta wait because their masts are taller than the bridges. That's why they gotta wait. See, the other ships, like that ship, could just go through. It's a regular pleasure craft. There's Marina Towers there. Patron Goldberg was the architect. There's the John Hancock there up Michigan Avenue. We walked by this morning. There's the Trump Tower, and there's the Wrigley Building. And we'll get away from the Trump Tower so we won't have to talk about, because I know either people have an extremely positive reaction or extremely negative reaction. I've never seen anybody just be like, whatever. Look at that. Hey, you saw me earlier. Thanks, Larry Duncan. That's good. Yeah, thanks for checking out Chicago. Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to convince anybody to travel here, move here. There it is. There's the State Street Bridge open. See how it catches you by surprise. It's so sneaky there, I didn't even hear it. A lot of times you can hear it. There's the northern half of the State Street Bridge. It's a Basque Bridge here in Chicago. They're lifting it for these sailboats, and they'll be able to make it through there. So, see how they're already starting to. They're going to pull away from the shore there. It's this whole choreography where usually they have people help them out with the rigging and the ropes and pushing off from the shore wall there. And then the sailboats will follow the sailboats as they head through here. Yeah, Lim, how you doing there? Yeah. Hey, we got 125 people tuning in there. That's pretty good. Thanks for tuning in YouTube. I'm also on TikTok, but I'm streaming exclusively on YouTube now. TikTok kicked me out of the Creator Fund, so I'm like, fine. They don't want my business. Look how you can look through there. Yeah, there's the construction guy there. Look at the barge here. There's the sailboats. There's the Marina Towers. Corn cob buildings. It's corn. It's a big lump with knobs. We got the juice. I can't imagine a more beautiful thing. Look at that. Look at this. Yeah, let's get further back here so we can see. Look, and we get nice skyline views the whole way. That's why normally we do the river walk often lunchtime, because I'm in the loop anyway. That's what I usually do my loop watches or walks. When we get a bridge lift, like today, we started earlier. We'll make up the time. I'll probably be working a little this weekend anyway. Here's hey, the City Winery. They got the flames going. There's that State Street Bridge in the upright position. We got the sailboats coming through there. We got 9 sailboats traveling westwards on the main channel of the Chicago River here. See, they're starting to ding the bell. So there's the last people walking across. They got to clear the bridge of pedestrians and traffic.
Yeah.
And there's gates at either end. You see the bridge house. This is a more modern Dearborn Street. And here's the sailboats. Let's zoom in here. Yeah, we're streaming earlier. You're right. And, if you got something else to do, if you can't watch it live, you can always watch the rerun. That's the good thing about YouTube, is that you can watch the full live rerun, rewind it like a TiVo or like just a regular video, and you don't have to wait for me to cut out the clips. And TikTok, that wasn't possible. Tea time, yeah. Ernie, thanks. Yeah, it's a bit chilly today. Yeah, Ernie, I'm wearing. Ernie, look, I'm wearing my my blue winter coat again. It's not too bad, but it's if it rains, if we get any rain, yeah, it'll be really chilly. It was that cold rain yesterday. Check out Ernesto Chicago Nuggies there. He had a wonderful surprise at his live stream last night. I saw when you were by the Buckingham Fountain. I'm glad you film it at night with the beautiful light show and the music, but you went over towards the museum campus with the beautiful skyline, and at the end of his stream he had some confetti, which that was good. That was like a magic trick. It came out of his hand there, and the wind took it, and then Ernie made sure he collected it all. It didn't go into the lake, and that was a nice effect there. So check out Ernesto Chicago Nuggies. You got some good video from the zoo. See how they're gonna link up to, because they're waiting for this next bridge here. And they link, and then they can see. Look, then they can wait and not be tossed around by the current. It's kind of dicey here because they're working on the State Street Bridge. See how there's a more narrow channel as they head around here. I got to make sure I don't fall in the water. I stepped over the water there. I already fell this morning, Ernie. I fell. I was filming on Menominee in Old Town, and there was one of those houses from the Great Chicago Fire that they built really quickly, and I was so excited to try to film it. I caught my foot on the curb and I took a tumble, but I'm okay. Could have been worse. I didn't break any of my equipment. I was worried I damaged my gimbal, but it's okay. Hey, see, there's Lucia heading through here. And how you doing there? Yeah. There's all the boats here. See how they pull to the side. There's Tatra. We saw them before. It gets congested sometimes. And, you know, see, there it is. There's the Dearborn Street Bridge. There's the Dearborn Street Bridge opening. The Basquiat Bridge is here. And look at that.
Hold on a second. 1 second.
Yeah, no cuts. I've been falling a lot. I know Ernie saw I fell when we were filming the No Kings, but no, I just kind of hurt my knee, my knee, you know. But no, fortunately, no abrasions, no cuts. But hey, Ernie, the Chicago Fire play tonight. They're playing Orlando, right, to advance to an actual round in the playoffs. Whoever wins plays Philadelphia. So the Chicago Fire Football Club, the soccer team, is playing tonight 8:30. So don't forget about that. And look, here's the Dearborn Street in the upright position. See how it's a grate? That's why it hums when you drive across it. And that's why the Dave Matthews Band experience happened on the Kinsey Street Bridge. Here comes the water taxi. But hey, look at the State Street Bridge. Here comes the boat, so we'll watch the sailboats head under Dearborn Street here at Chicago Riverwalk. We got 10:56 in the AM. 50 degrees, it's pretty chilly, but it's not raining. So here, look at that water taxi head through there. Here we go. Hey, see how, look at the shoreline. Look how close they come to these boats. A lot of boat traffic today. See, this one's waiting. I'm glad they're waiting because that's what happened last year. They just kept coming through and it was a collision. And see how congested it gets. We got a water taxi, we got 2 architectural tour boats, and we have 9 sailboats going underneath the Dearborn Street Bridge all at the same time here, pretty much. Yeah, my knee's okay. I've had worse. It's par for the course. Jay City walking girl, it happens to her, it happens to me. Eventually, the longer you walk and talk, you take a tumble, you know, and it happens to the best of us. Lucky it could have been much worse. It hurt my pride more than anything. And as I get older and as we go into the winter, I got to be more careful as we head into the slippery season here, you know. And that goes for all Chicago live streamers. But here, yeah. Well, okay, so there are people we know that could have access inside the Marina Towers. There's other people besides me that live stream, and there's other people that do have access to the inside of Marina Towers. I won't name names. Ernie knows who I'm talking about. I'm sure if you look online, there's plenty of footage of real estate people that show what the units look on the inside. Yeah, I would love it. Sometimes people that live in these iconic buildings, like, for example, Jeremy, who lives at Eugenie Terrace, you know, they've gotten us to their rooftops and stuff. If anybody lives in Marina Towers and you would want to get me on their balcony, and I'll make sure to promote whatever you want to promote there, we could be a win-win. If anybody lives in Marina Towers wants to get me on their balcony or on the rooftop, that could be possible. But we know other people that can hook us up, so we'll get back to you on that. But I'm not going to make any promises. But yeah, and that goes for, I miss Chicago Open House. Chicago Open House was this weekend. I'm kicking myself because, you know, I covered the No Kings and we covered the parade downtown, the Halloween parade. Oh, and there, they're pulling to the side there. But here's the Dearborn Street Bridge, the House of Blues behind them, Marina Towers. Dearborn Street Bridge in the upright position. You can imagine anytime you live stream, and it's a good problem to have, I get hundreds of requests weekly to go to different places. There's no way I could physically possibly, even if I was paid to do it, even if you were paying me to do this, which I'm not getting paid, I get a few nickels and dimes from the Creator Fund or from YouTube, the advertising and stuff, but it's not enough to quit my day job. And you know, I think I appreciate people giving me suggestions, but I don't think anybody's like giving me orders or a work list, because I appreciate people subscribing and stuff, but I choose my own routes. And you know, we're watching something fun right here now, you know, so thanks for tuning in here. Here's the 9 sailboats They already passed through Dearborn Street Bridge there, Chicago, Illinois. You got 10:59 here, 50 degrees. We're by the Tiny Tap on the Chicago Riverwalk. I appreciate your support here and attention. There's the Clark Street Bridge. See how fast? It goes pretty quickly until you get to the Wells Street Bridge, and that's because of the CTA train tracks that go across there. It's a double bridge like the Michigan Avenue Bridge. But here's the Clark Street Bridge rising. The Basquiat Bridge. See, there's a Fulcrum, there's a counterweight. They're in the bridge house up there. They're lifting it. Sometimes we see the workers inspecting it. See, there's a counterweight down in there. And a Fulcrum, just like a teeter-totter or a flipper on a pinball machine, it lifts that half of the bridge. They're both balanced, and when you drive across these bridges, the weight transfers to either side, and it's like you're on a diving board, but a very rigid diving board made out of steel. Yeah, that would be nice if all the buildings were required to have public access areas. You know, a lot of some buildings, if you know, there's certain areas, but it's, you know, it was probably easier before 9/11, and then they tightened security in a lot of these buildings in the big city. And then, of course, after COVID and the George Floyd situation in 2020, security's pretty tight in all these buildings. Merchandise Mart. Sometimes they see live streamers and they don't like, for their own liability, they don't want live streamers because they're worried that people are watching my live stream and casing buildings. Sometimes the security on Oak Street worries about that. I was on Oak Street last night and I filmed like Chanel and Prada and, you know, Armani, and people with ulterior motives will look at my live stream trying to find vulnerabilities for smash and grabs. That's why I was probably chased out of Ralph Lauren. They don't know who's, you know, looking for whatever purposes, you know, and it's the same with, but yeah, that would be nice if there were public access. I know I've been to Tokyo, like some of the municipal buildings you can get to the top because they like San Francisco, they have some public access areas and the high rises there but here's and I want to do some live streaming in San Francisco. San Francisco is such a beautiful city. We'll get there eventually. I need the stock market to sell off. I can't believe that we have a government shutdown and they'll have all this economic uncertainty, and because of AI and how profitable corporations are now because of their tax cut, that the stock market is totally divorced from the real economy and is at the all-time highs. When the rest of us in the real economy, we don't feel as hot about things, but the billionaires have it better than ever, and they've already won, and they already own the government, and the government works for them and not us, so that's enough about that. But here's same as it ever was. We're back to the Gilded Age. Look how great America is. Yeah, it's great if you're a billionaire. Here's as they approve Elon Musk's $1 trillion pay package. Does Elon really care about the environment, or does he just care about his brand, you know? Like he would sell Tesla in a heartbeat, move on to the next entrepreneurial thing, you know, sell stock on Mars or something. Here's the nebula. There's the boat here. So hey, if you just joined here, we're in Chicago. We're in between the Clark Street Bridge. We're waiting for the Lasalle Street Bridge, but there's still people walking across it. And until they clear people of the bridge and those gates come down, we'll wait around for the last boats to clear the Clark Street Bridge, and we'll watch this thing come down here. Oh yeah, the Eastland disaster. So right where we're at here, in 1915, the Eastland disaster happened here. Thanks for bringing it up. I'll walk you up to where the plaque is. 2 to 3 years after the Titanic sunk, and the two were strangely connected. Because the Titanic sunk, and everybody's seen the movie and knows about the Titanic and the iceberg and the, you know, the lifeboats. There wasn't enough lifeboats. So after that, a lot of governments, including the United States throughout the world, increased their life safety requirements for lifeboats. So fast forward to 1915, that World War I had already started in Europe, but America hadn't entered the war. A lot of European immigrants worked in factories and businesses in Chicago. There was a Chicago business called the Western Electric Company. It was like Ma Bell, like AT&T. The people that worked there were mostly, at that time, which was true of the demographics of Chicago, a lot of Eastern European immigrants worked there. And they were going on a Sunday as a reward, like a company event. They were going to board this laker. It was a lake steamship called the Eastland. It was a modified Laker that they concreted over the deck. It was known to be top heavy and listed a lot, but they had put a bunch of lifeboats on the top, which added a bunch of weight to the deck. It was moored right here, and about thousands of people were getting on this boat. There were people waving to the shore. There were people on the side here, and the boat started to tilt from one side to the other. They couldn't balance the ballast underneath there. And it's right here next to the shore, the Eastland, this big Laker ship that probably would have filled up this whole block. It tilted from one side to the other, and it tilted, and it flipped over. I think it flipped over this way. And people were underneath. And when it turned sideways, they became trapped in the hull, the H-U-L-L, the hull, like Bobby Hull. And over 800 people drowned, whole families drowned. It was a horrible disaster. Almost as many people died in the Eastland disaster as died in the Titanic. And it happened right here, this close to the shore, not out in the middle of the ocean. And people were trapped. It was a horrible tragedy. Babies died. They took the bodies to be identified to where Harpo Studios is in the West Loop. That's where Oprah had her daytime show, which they tore that building down 10 years ago, and they built McDonald's corporate headquarters there. And people said that place was haunted because there's black and white photos where they took the bodies there to be identified. That's the Eastland disaster. Thanks for bringing that up there. Yeah, we haven't talked about that in a while. I used to talk about it all the time on my original account. We had nice videos, but TikTok deleted those, which is another reason I'm streaming on YouTube now. If anybody from TikTok is listening, your platform has driven me away from your platform, and it's not just because of the recent Oracle. You've punished me enough. I'm tired of getting banned all the time on your stupid platform. So hey, YouTube is much for forgiving. Thanks for understanding. And here's the Lasalle Street Bridge opening. Perfect timing because I'm done with the Eastland disaster. We'll go show you the plaque here, but here's the, well, there is a plaque up there. I think you can trust me. I'm going to head down and film this as the sailboats go through. We'll film the plaque some other time. So there's a plaque. There's a plaque up there. Here, as the Lasalle Street Bridge opens, just because I'll prove it to you, I'll show you there's a plaque. I should have not walked down these stairs. You just wanted me to walk up the stairs there, yeah. So 1107, here's LaSalle Street. We'll be able to get the nice view to the Board of Trade. But here, the Eastland disaster. See, look, there's a plaque to it there, the Eastland disaster. But here's all the sailboats heading through here. There's LaSalle Street in the upright position. And there's LaSalle Street, financial heart of Chicago, the Board of Trade. Why won't my fingers work? There we go, look at that. Look how you can look, the sailboats are going underneath here. So this is Wacker Drive, LaSalle Street, 48 degrees. We'll head back down here. There's the sailboats, first ones making it through. There. Yeah, we showed the plaque. That's where you find the plaque there. It's at the corner of LaSalle, and no problem. I'm getting my Stairmaster in today. I'm a pretty lazy live streamer. There's the, it says not in service, probably a brown line heading across. And we'll see they got to get the trains across before they open that bridge. They're going to open the Wells Street Bridge next. That might be a pink line. They might just be storing the pink line. They do that sometimes. It's only 4 cars, so I wonder if that's a pink line and it's heading up the brown line tracks, or they do that sometimes when stuff like this happens. But there's the, look how wide the LaSalle Street Bridge is. It's a little wider than the other bridges. Columbus Street Bridge is really wide too. And this is the Basquiat Bridge here, bridges here in Chicago, the drawbridges. They're letting the sailboats in for winter storage here. October the 22nd here, 2025 here. We got 11:09 in the a.m. See the regular pleasure. See, so this is gonna be interesting. This pleasure craft is heading against the sailboats. The sailboats are trying to get through here, and I don't know why this boat just doesn't wait, but it becomes a big bluffing game. And here's the sailboats heading underneath the Lasalle Street Bridge. We'll see what happens with this. It's like a game of chicken. Yeah, Al Bundy, how you doing there, Al? Hey, sometimes we film the Buckingham Fountain there. Ernie was filming it last night. Ernesto Chicago Nuggies, the Buckingham Fountain there that they used at the beginning of Married with Children there. Al, thanks for tuning in there. Appreciate it. Al Bundy's tuning in. Hey, they made it. They cleared it. One boat goes one way, the other ones go the other way. But here you can look down in here. Oops, sorry. See, it's dripping there. See, there's the counterweight. See that concrete? That's the counterweight. This is the fulcrum of the Lasalle Street Bascule Bridge. And the 9 sailboats are heading towards the South Branch here. There, you hear that? It's starting to come down. Look at that. Think of the weight. See, look at the pieces of rust that fell off. Sometimes that thing protects people from walking underneath there as this comes down. Several times little flakes of rust and dirt and crap fall off the bridge there and fall into the river. Sometimes we've done this when it's raining and it's like a waterfall coming off the bridge. Yeah, you can call my boss there and get me fired there. Go ahead there, Jeremy Ping. Go ahead, call my boss, get me fired there. They know I live stream. I was talking to one of the, look at the dog drinking the water there. I have a salary job. I work 40 hours a week. I don't have to work all the hours, all the days. If I work overtime over the weekend, sometimes I take extra hours during the week. I'm in my old age, I worked overtime most of my career. When I was younger, I would work 60 to 80 hour weeks. I'm tired of doing that. If you work for an architecture engineering firm, they'll work you to death. They'll give you so much work when we're busy. You can work 100 hours a week, and I've seen people do it, never take a vacation, and then they die in the office there. I'm not going to do it. I'm done with this all work all the time. Here's the brown line heading across. I'm trying to get rid of my corporate job anyway, so maybe you can do me a favor. Call my boss and get me fired. Go ahead. Great people in the comments there. I'm filming the bridge lift here. I know that's probably not what you meant. I misinterpret comments all the time. Oh, that's what they're saying. Okay, thanks, Gabby. Thanks for explaining that. See, most of the time when I live stream, I'm confused. Like, you know, it's really hard to interpret the comments, and it's because people in the past have claimed I didn't have a job, or claimed that, you know, I live stream so much I'm going to lose my job, that when I see comments like that, I think that's what they're referring to, because I used to get them a lot, and it was just people trolling me. And so, thank you. Thanks. Everything's fine. And I didn't say anything bad. I'm just, you know, yeah, you know, I'm just, thanks for tuning in here. I appreciate it. It just, you know, you can relate. It gets annoying. People, I know people don't mean to be annoying. People give suggestions. They're like, go here, go there, go do this, do that. And, you know, no one has the time to say please or thank you, or you know, if you don't mind. They're just like, go here, go there. And I'm like, to me, it sounds like they're treating me like a dog. Like, sit down, roll over, you know, jump in the lake. We'll have people that'll say jump in the lake. We'll have people to say, you know, I should hang myself from the bridge. People will put that in the comments. We're used to that, you know. It's almost laughable. It's just so funny, you know. And they might be like 10 years old. South of the USA. Pedro, how you doing there, Pedro? William, how you doing there? So William, are you a democratic socialist? Yeah, explain that position. That's great. Tell us more about democratic socialism. I'd like to hear your perspective. Thanks for tuning in. Here comes the you want guaranteed basic income? What do you think about the potential possible new mayor of New York City might be a democratic socialist? Yeah. A lot of people are talking about that, and he has a good chance because it looks like Cuomo is not cutting the mustard, and Eric Adams has already dropped out of the race. So a lot of people are talking about democratic socialism and the mayor of New York City. There's the, see, they're getting all the trains. There's another Brown Line train heading across there. That's what that sound was. Here's Fort Dearborn. Here's Chicago's First Lady. Here's the sailboats here. Here comes the water taxi. You're a monarcho socialist. Hey, Amy, that's interesting there. Thanks for tuning in. That's great. See, we like people with different viewpoints. Yeah. History. History of what? What does that mean? History question mark. That's not a question. One word with a question is not a question. History? Yeah. Question? Question mark? You have a question? Look at that. Look at the top of that vintage skyscraper here. Yeah, look at the confluence. We're heading towards the confluence. So we'll see how long it takes. Sometimes it takes like a long time for the Wells Street Bridge to open. Same with the Lake Street Bridge, and it's even worse now because they're working on the Lake Street. But I hear the bell dinging. That's a good sign. So we'll walk back and check out the sailboats. Kenneth, thanks for tuning in there. Travell, thanks for tuning in there. Doris, yeah, thanks for tuning in for the view there. William, Fernando, yeah. They're dinging the bell. So again, Chicago Riverwalk, October the 22nd here, 2025. We got about 48 degrees. It's a pretty chilly day. This is the coolest day we've had in a while, but it's not raining. That rain came in yesterday. Finally feels like fall. We've been looking for Halloween decorations. We'll do that once we after 5 o'clock. We'll start heading home. I might head home a little later tonight since I'm taking so much time at lunch to stream. And yeah, see, the reason I didn't understand the comment about being late to work, you see, even though they're going to raise this bridge and no one would have an excuse to be late to work because you just can go one bridge over. All these bridges are still, you're able to cross. All the bridges, only the bridge that's being open is impacted, and usually it only lasts 5 minutes. And if you're stuck in traffic, all you have to do is go one block over and there's another bridge. So sometimes it backs up on Michigan Avenue. Lakeshore Drive, it does back up because, you know, it's a highway when they open the Lasalle Lakeshore Drive Bridge there. And here's the Merchandise Mart. This is the Wells Street Bridge. We're hoping they're going to open this to let the 9 sailboats through. So we'll look. There's the workers. They inspect stuff. Here's the boats waiting. Yeah, Amy, I'm glad you saw the plaque there. I would have spent more time there, but I was trying to film the bridge. And thanks. We'll go back there and film the plaque some other time. Maybe, you know. And yeah, there's a plaque there. I'm glad you saw that. Yeah, was it windy in St. Paul? Yeah, we had a lot of wind in Chicago. No, not that much. 50 miles an hour. Wow, that's some crazy wind there in Minnesota. St. Paul there. So we're about 2 miles north of Soldier Field. Soldier Field is, you can look at a map. we're near the Merchandise Mart, and the Loop of Chicago is all this way. Soldier Field is by the lake, by Burnham Harbor. Here we go. There's the Wells Street Bridge. They're just going to open. The northern half. Look how fast that is. Look how fast they can. That's a double-decked. The top is for the CTA elevated trains, and the bottom's for automobile traffic. And this is the Wells Street Bridge opening for 9 sailboats. That's a Bastille Bridge. See how this perfectly illustrates how both half of the bridges are independently supported to the abutments. It transfers the weight to the fulcrum, and then there's a counterweight underneath there. And here we'll watch these sailboats work their way through here. Yeah, Michael Rodriguez, Tea Lime Tea Time. Michael Wentz, how you doing there? Yeah, isn't this nice? I got to use Streamlabs because the YouTube app is crap. It does, the resolution always degrades. But if you use Prism or the Streamlabs, you can float it on top of YouTube, and they'll push your live stream, and then people can comment, and I can see the comments. Usually, sometimes I lose the comments if we stream for too long, but it's been working much better lately. And here's all the sailboats heading underneath Wells Street in the upright position. Chicago, Illinois, October 22nd, 2025. 11:20 in the a.m. here, Wells Street, Chicago Riverwalk. Yeah, screenshots. Yeah, welcome to take screenshots. We got nice views of the skyline, you know, and so I'll tell you what. I don't know if I'm going to have time. I'm going to see if I can get across the Franklin Street Bridge, because we might be able to film it from the north side, and that might make for better viewing here. Oh, sorry. That might make for better viewing here, because we can get the skyline, the Sears Tower in the background with these boats. But I don't know if I'm going to make it across. I wish I would have thought of this sooner, because they're going to start dinging the bell as soon as I go up the stairs here. So let's see if we can get across the Franklin Street Bridge before it closes, and then we can film it from Wolf Point. And we can go over to Lake Street there. This guy's heading up. We'll follow behind him here. But there's the Wells Street Bridge in the upright position. We'll head up the stairs here. Gotta make sure I don't fall. I'm filming backwards walking upstairs. That's very bad. That's a no-no. Pedro, yeah. Kevin. So, all these bridges were constructed at different times. A lot of the bridges will tell you. Here, 1920. This is the Franklin Street Bridge. William Hale Thompson was the mayor. 1920. Some of them are newer. Some of them go back to the 1890s. There used to be older bridges that turned in the center. They removed all those because they were very problematic. This is the view of the Franklin Street Bridge as we're crossing the Chicago River. You see how out of shape I am. It's because talking and walking and going upstairs, it just gets to me. Here's the here's the center. This is where, and here we got 9 sailboats here in front of the Merchandise Mart. There's the Wells Street Bridge. Look at that nice view. Yeah, he's taking photos of it. The great photo ops here. Look at that. Look at that amazing classic view, the Wells Street Bridge. There comes the Wells Street Bridge. So let's stop here. And they're starting to ding the bell, so we better get off of this bridge. They're gonna open this one next. We just made it across. Yeah. So here I can sit right here and we can watch this bridge come down. Thanks, Amy. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, you can watch the rerun if you want to see the rest of this, Amy. You can watch the rerun once it's over there. Go to the live tab on my YouTube page, and we'll do clips if there's anything interesting there. Look at that. Yeah, Marco Polo, how you doing there? Feel good here. See, people are running to get across the bridge. Yeah, you better get off when that bell starts dinging. Hey, look, the last people making it up before they lift the bridge here. Yeah, it's a great view. This is a great view. This is one of the classic views. See, they better get off. One time, there was somebody on a bike, and they thought they were taking pictures, and they were like, somebody was in the bridge house, and they were screaming, they get off the bridge, and they're like, what? They said, we're going to lift the bridge. They said, go ahead. They said, you're on it. They're like, oh, it finally like dawned on them. They thought that, I don't know why they thought they weren't going to go up with the bridge, you know, and everybody on the boats was like, get off the bridge. It was like a Monty Python thing at the end of the movie. Get on with the show. No, this is Chicago. Here, I'll prove it to you. Oh, see, look, the gate closed behind us. We're behind the gate here. There we go. So So here people taking pictures. Yeah, I was actually behind the gate. But here, let's head out here on top of the Esplanade on the Merchandise Mart here at the confluence. Where's Pisa Lisa? There's the, yeah, they're going to lift the Franklin Street Bridge here. We'll head out here to the center. A lot of people are coming out to watch this, which is good. So if I head just a little bit this way, we should get a view to the Sears Tower here. How you doing? Oops. There's the Franklin Street Bridge here. There we go. So here, let's see if we get this view to the Sears Tower here. There's the Franklin Street Bridge is starting to open right here. Here it is. Watch out there. There's the wait. There you go. Here's the Franklin Street Bridge. Starting to open here. Chicago, Illinois. And there's the view we want. So not only, see, we got the mast here of the sailboat. There's the Sears Tower, Chicago, Illinois. You notice I didn't say Willis. It's the Sears Tower. It's the name of the company that built it. You can call it whatever you want. Here's the Franklin Street Bridge starting to rise here. Confluence of the north and south branch of the Chicago River. We got 9 sailboats they're going to head through here. We're in front of the Merchandise Mart. 2 blocks wide. And here, look at this beautiful view we got. We've been watching these 9 sailboats pulse through here. Thanks for tuning in here. I don't know what the new name is. I can't tell you. No one ever says it in Chicago, so I don't know what they even call it. So you can figure it out. If you got the internet, you can figure it out. I'm not going to say it. Yeah, Phil, how you doing there? So the reason they only opened the other bridge half is they can independently open, like the State Street Bridge, it was under construction, so I know why that. I don't know why they only opened half of it. Maybe there's some problem with one half of it, or since they knew all the sailboats could get by, they just decided they did that with the Michigan Avenue Bridge as well. They only opened half. You see how the pink line is heading across the Lake Street Bridge, and they're going to open that one next. And that bridge is under construction as well, so they'll probably only have half of that. So it's a good question. I don't know the full answer, so I don't know everything. I'm confused like everybody else. That was a good question. I don't know why they opened only half of Wells. It's just what they did. See here, this quickly, the brown line's heading into the loop there. They had that bridge, half of it opened just a few minutes ago. And here goes Linnea. They're going back to pick up people for the architectural cruises there. Isn't that a nice bridge there? Look at that. Look at that. Look at that view. Look at that classic view of Chicago, the Sears Tower in the background, and the Franklin Street Bridge. And there's the Tuning Fork building. Devin, how you doing there? Yeah, look at the scene. Look at the scenes of the city we're getting here. This happens most Wednesdays and Saturdays, fall and spring. They'll do a bridge lift. If you're here lunchtime, you'll be able to see it. Here's the giant heads. These are the giant heads in front of the Merchandise Mart. See, there's Marshall Fields right there. There's Montgomery Ward, Aaron Montgomery Ward right there. If you like Chicago's lakefront, especially Grant Park, you got him to thank, because they revived that ordinance that said the lakefront shall be forever clear and for the public. And he had a battle with Marshall Field over where he was going to locate the Field Museum, and it ended up in the museum campus. Marshall Field wanted it where the Buckingham Fountain was. He wanted it right in the center, and thankfully we got the Buckingham Fountain instead. I like the Field Museum, I just like its location, and it ended up working out. So here's the Franklin Street Bridge in the upright position here. We'll head over to Wolf Point here. Let's move over to Wolf Point. Look, they're taking some photo shots there. Yeah. Hey, that's good. Hey, look at that. Hey, it's easy to cross the street when this bridge is up. Nobody can go across the bridge. People are waiting to cross. But like I said, if you ever get stuck in one of these bridges, all you got to do is go 1 block over and use the bridge 1 block over. There's really no excuse. See, they're turning around because they're just like, we'll just go 1 block over. But it does impact traffic. That's why they do it in the middle of the day. They don't do it during rush hour. There's people having coffee here, Blue Bottle Coffee. This is the new Salesforce Tower. There's housing here. Hey, look at that view. Franklin Street Bridge in the upright position here. Chicago, Illinois. Here's the Merchandise Mart. So you got elevators go down. Hey, Dolores, Leela, how you doing there? You want a red light district? Hey, Dr. Benjamin, there you go. Yeah, just like Amsterdam. See, we got legalized marijuana finally. So yeah, we just need the whole. I'm pretty libertarian there. But I know other people would be against that. But we got casinos, so why not? All the vice. I'm sure they would tax the hell out of it. Hey, look at all this nice outdoor seating we have here. You can come out and play the bean bags. There's a nice view from the top of that tower, but it's really hard to get access to it. It's easier to get access to this one because it's residential. You get to the amenity decks. But there's the Franklin Street Bridge is lowering. There's the Franklin Street Bridge starting to lower here. We'll get it between the trees here. Thanks for tuning in. Chicago, Illinois here, October 22nd, 2024. We got a bridge lift. 11:31 in the p.m. I'm like the old town crier. 11:31 and all is well. I like these. That's very psychedelic. I like these 3D animations they got here on these screens. I've tried to go inside there. The security, they say no live streaming. I say okay. I guess Larry Ellison is worried. Wow, look at that view. That's a classic view there. I should have came over here to watch you come down. I didn't kind of get over here fast enough, but we should be able to see the Lake Street Bridge here. Oh, okay, so Sears Towers, of course, commercial. This is the Bank of America building. This is commercial, this commercial, all this stuff. This is housing. This is all luxury housing. The Marina Towers is housing. The Trump Tower is housing. There's a hotel in there, but it's mostly housing. The St. Regis has a hotel in the bottom, but the top is all high-end condo. And if you get in the Loop, more people are living in the Loop. You see how this building here, this used to be the Butler Brothers. It was a warehouse like Montgomery Ward's. It was a mail order. It became Ben Franklin stores. They sold it. They converted it to housing, adaptive reuse. See all those balconies? They added those balconies, and it's housing. So yeah, there's more people than ever that live in downtown Chicago because a lot of commercial buildings have been converted to housing, including these over here. There's an ice storage building that has been converted into, it was cold winter storage for ice with thick walls. They converted that to housing. Look at the Sea Dog. Here comes the Sea Dog. That comes from Navy Pier usually. And it's heading down the river here. D. Michael, Kevin, Leela, Francesca. Thanks. Yeah, I want a pineapple. So most of the sailboats are pulled to the side. There's the train going across here, that classic view to the Chicago skyline. Yeah, let's head down here. Let's walk. You know, I have a hard time staying in one place, so we'll keep walking here. I'm used to moving. Got to keep moving. Yeah, we'll check out this. They had this blocked off for a long time while they were working on there was some scaffolding, or there was they were working on the glass curtain wall of this building. There's looking south towards the Sears Tower, the South Branch of the Chicago River. Here's the main channel. We'll show you where the North Branch connects here. And again, this river was reversed. It used to flow towards the lake. Now it flows this way. It goes to the Illinois Ship and Sanitary Canal. Eventually gets to the Illinois River, goes down to the Mississippi, and a lot of Chicago's pollution goes down to the Mississippi, and St. Louis has returned the favor by shipping it back to us in the form of Budweiser beer. You'll hear that lame joke on the architectural tour, I'm sure. But I like St. Louis. St. Louis has some nice parks, nice housing as well. A lot of stuff in St. Louis besides the arch. There's Chicago's First Lady. You've been watching these boats. So it's going to head up the North Branch. See this big Y? This represents the confluence of the North and South Branch of the Chicago River to the main channel. And they used it for this because this is called Wolf Point. This is Wolf Point. And they developed this. Look at that. It's just under 1,000 feet tall, I think, like 900 and something. A lot of people think Chicago's sinking because of the raised streets. Yeah, we got raised streets because they, for the storm sewers, they wanted the water to flow towards the Mississippi instead of the lake, so they raised the streets and they jacked up some of the buildings. A lot of the Tartarian conspiracy theorists, they talk about the mud flood, Chicago sinking, and all that stuff, and I don't subscribe to that. I think that's a bunch of gobbledygook, but people are going to believe what they want to believe. I've seen many intelligent people work themselves on the pretzels, convincing themselves of whatever they want to believe. We can all, just like biblical prophecy or the Illuminati or anything else, we can create these vast conspiracy theories. I just admonished them. I said, why don't you research real indigenous American history, you know, before pre-Columbian, like Tenochtitlan, the Aztecs, the Incas, the Mayas. They built those amazing pyramids and stuff. You know, it kind of like it diminishes the contributions that they made that were destroyed by the European colonial cultures. And it's interesting that the Tartarian conspiracy theory comes from Russia. They traced it to Russia, and there's so many Americans that want to believe it. And you know, I got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn there. Go ahead. Just like people feel they believe there's a man trapped in the bean. So you can create your own protest on that. Some people believe Donald Trump's really a nice guy. They would like to hang out with him and have a beer and do business with him. And I'm sure he'd pay his contracts on time. He'd be like the checks in the mail, you know. He'd sue you, and like he's going to sue the American public. I know I shouldn't bring that up. We should talk about nice, fun things, happy things. We'll talk about everything besides politics and act like everything's normal in America and everybody's happy and everybody's rich and everybody's great. And so look how quickly the Franklin Street Bridge, people are already walking across it. They're driving it. That was up in the air there just a few minutes ago, and all these sailboats went through there. So yeah, there's workers. Until those workers get off there, they're inspecting the bridge. It might be a while. So while we're waiting, this gives us time. So let's walk across the Franklin Street Bridge since it's down, and we'll get over towards the Lake Street Bridge, and you can watch this bridge lift here. I'm being sarcastic, Taylor. I'm being sarcastic. Not everybody's rich in America. There's a lot of poor people in America, and a lot of the wealth in this country is concentrated at the top. And same as it ever was, letting the days go by, water flowing underground. Once in a lifetime. How did I get here? This is not my beautiful wife. This is not my beautiful house. How did I become a live streamer on YouTube? I thought I was a live streamer on TikTok. Letting the days go by, water flowing underground. Once in a lifetime. Getting our David Byrne on. Here's look at the heads. Look at the giant heads there. Giant heads. Big head. The flags. So hey, CDOT came out of the bridge house here. They're gonna go to the next one there. Merchandise Mart. So hey, see, most of the bridges tell you 1920. William Hale Thompson was the mayor. Here we'll head across. See the pink line, they're still getting the trains across there. Pink line's headed across the Lake Street Bridge. You're going to open that next. Here comes the shoreline. Head across the Franklin Street Bridge here. Talking Heads, you got it. Francisca, thanks for getting my reference there. I appreciate it. Talking, yeah, you got it. Yeah, I don't know if the IHOP's open. Hey, that's a good question. Hey, look at the shoreline there. It's going right underneath us. How you doing? Yeah. Hey, look at all the sailboats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 sailboats. Look, they're all in a line there. Let's go down and talk to them. Well, they're working on that. That's right. See, they got the... I'm not going to go back down there because, well, I don't know. Let's see how much time we got here. We'll get you this view to the Sears Tower. This is... So if I get out here in the middle of the street here, look at that great view. You get to the Sears Tower here. That's looking down Franklin Street from Wacker Drive. See, that's the Chicago River, the main channel, the merchandise mart. We'll head back across here. And they're starting to ding the bell, so maybe we're gonna see the bridge lift here. They're actually making good progress. We got 11:40. We'll make it down to the main channel here. Yeah, honorary Michael tier. We got all the Michaels here. Who else wants to be a Michael? We're all honorary Michaels. So the heads on the merchandise mart, they were the business leaders in the 1920s, mainly old rich white men that led the businesses in Chicago at that time. Marshall Field, Montgomery Ward, Sears Roebuck. I don't think he's part of it, but because Montgomery Ward probably didn't want him on it. But there was like the guy that owned Woolsworth is one of the heads. Woolsworth is one of the heads. Remember the Woolsworth 5 and dimes? They pooled their resources for capital to build the merchandise mart. That was the largest building in the world when it was built in 1930. They built it even though the Great Depression, the stock market crash had already started, and they were forced to sell it because they couldn't get any tenants during the Great Depression. And Joe Kennedy, the father of John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy, he bought it because Joe Kennedy famously sold his stocks before the stock market crash because the shoeshine boy was giving him stock tips, or that's the story. And then when he had capital to buy a lot of stuff when no one else had capital because he sold his stocks before the stock market crash, and he was able to buy stocks really cheap. And look, his sons became president. You know, don't think that had a factor. Or ran for, you know, JFK was president, RFK was running for president when he was assassinated. So here's some of the traffic impacts. It does impact traffic. Here comes the, look how fast that barge is coming around the bend there. Wow, it's causing a wake. Look at that Skyview barge just flying through the confluence here. We'll just follow this. Southern Illinois, how you doing there? Yeah, I got some footage of the Garden of the Gods there in the Shawnee National Forest. What a beautiful area of Illinois. We went through Carbondale and the Southern Illinois universities down there, Salukis. Go Salukis there. Yeah, Southern Illinois. I know. I always feel sorry because I grew up in downstate Indiana, so I don't know what it feels like downstate Illinois. Illinois politics is dominated by Chicago, but we got the whole rest of the state. Beautiful farmland, wine country. They got the Shawnee National Forest. Kind of hilly. There it is. There's the Lake Street Bridge starting to open here. And they're only going to open half of it because, again, the Lake Street Bridge is under construction like the State Street Bridge. See that worker? They're standing there. See how both sides of the bridges are independent of each other, and they can lift one side to lift the sailboats through. Yeah, thanks, Pedro. Thanks for listening there. Yeah, old Kennedy bought it's not the Woolworth building, the merchandise mart. Joe Kennedy bought the merchandise mart. This is called the merchandise mart. But Woolworth was one of the business leaders that contributed resources to the building of it. There is the Woolworths building in New York City. I think they tore it down. There was a Woolworths building in downtown Manhattan. But here's the Lake Street Bridge. You see how it has the elevated train tracks on the top, and we'll watch these 9 sailboats travel through here. See, this building used to be cold storage. They used to, in the old days, 100 years ago, they would, in the wintertime, because there was poor refrigeration at that time, in the wintertime, they would gather ice and they would store it in that building. It had really thick walls like a cooler, like an insulated cooler. and it would keep the ice cold all through the summer. So remember, like Ralph Cramden and the old honeymooners, the old 50s, they wouldn't have a refrigerator, they would have an ice box. And just like the milkman would come by every day, the Iceman would come and give you a block of ice. And we put it in the refrigerator, and just like a cooler with your beer there at the Bears game, it would keep your stuff cold for a while until that ice slowly melted. And that was the earliest refrigeration. And they would use it for air conditioning. They would, in these bigger buildings, they would put ice and they would blow water over the ice and pump it through the building. Isn't that amazing? So here we're heading behind, and they got this bridge closed to pedestrian traffic anyway. So bear with me, we're going to, as these sailboats are heading through the Lake Street Bridge, we're going to head down towards the Washington Avenue Bridge, see if we can get across Washington, and then we'll film. Oh, it should be a quick succession down the South Branch as we head towards the Sears Tower. We're going to head towards the Sears Tower along the South Branch. We're going by the Beatnik here, Good Funk, and if you get have nice views of the river from the Beatnik because they got it at water level there. Yeah, buenas tardes, Pedro, Susanna, Kevin. Yeah, Barcelona, Barcelona. I gotta say it right, Barcelona. It's not Barcelona, it's Barcelona. Thanks for tuning in. That is great, Spain. Barcelona is a beautiful city. I would like to do some live streaming there and see the Gaudi Cathedral, and there's so much beautiful urban design. They got the interesting diagonal squared and grid pattern. But here they're gonna open, we're gonna have to head down to the, well, the good thing is we can walk underneath the Bank of America building here. So see, these cars are gonna have to wait because they've already lowered the gates, and we're crossing Randolph Street here. The theater district of Chicago's that way. We'll go by Bazaar Meats here, Bank of America Tower. There's the Sears Tower. Boeing's over there. They're gonna raise the Randolph Street Bridge next. And we'll get these 9 sailboats heading through here. Hey, you want a Chicago dog? Yeah, get your chili char dog. You go to the Wiener Circle. You go to Jim's Original. Get you a Polish hot dog, Chicago style. So the Lake Street Bridge is still in the upright position. Look at that. So maybe we can head up here and see it here. Here's the Chicago Department of Transportation. See, they go up in the bridge houses there and they control this whole thing. Boats. There's the sailboats waiting to go across there. They got a nice view right there. Yeah, let's go down there. Let's see if we can get down there. We can walk right down here. Wacker Drive in Randolph, Chicago, Illinois, October 22nd, 2025. We got about 48 degrees. We're doing a bridge. There it is. So they're just opening the western half of the Randolph Street Bridge here, Chicago, Illinois. There's the water taxi. See, so the Lake Street Bridge is still partially open. There goes the sailboats, water taxi. They're reversing the engines. They're making a bunch of smoke. There's a Starbucks here. Randolph and Wacker will go by Bazaar Meats here. Then goes the bell. Look at that bridge. No, I grew up in Southeast Indiana. I moved to Chicago 26 years ago. Thanks for the question there. Yeah, I moved to Chicago in 1999. I've lived here for over 26 years, over half my life. And I grew up in the country. I grew up in the farm and soybean fields of Indiana, but I always wanted to live in the city. I would watch Perfect Strangers and Head of the Class, which was New York, and I'd be like, I want to walk to work. I want to live in an urban area with transit and crime and high taxes and a bunch of liberals. It's great. Here's Here's Randolph Street. Here's Randolph Street, Chicago, Illinois. How you doing? We're doing a bridge lift here. So I'm going to try to get across the Washington Boulevard Bridge. I'm going to run. We're underneath the Bank of America Tower, and see how this is cantilevered here. A lot of these buildings are cantilevered. The structural engineers like to show off. Imagine the weight that's on these columns, and it's right on the edge of a river that goes down to bedrock. They had to drive pilings 100 feet down to hit bedrock next to this river to build so close to the river. And these, even in the 1920s, they were able to do it on air rights. This building across the way, it's called Riverside Plaza. It used to be the Chicago Daily News building. It's built on railroad air rights. Not only is it next to the river, it's on top of railroad tracks. And imagine the engineering, structural engineering they had to do to make that possible and not sink into the river. But here we'll cross the, there we go. Look at this great view of the South Branch of the Chicago River looking north from the Washington Street Bridge here, Chicago, Illinois, October the 22nd, 2025. Hey, good shots there. He's getting some really good photos here. We're trying to do the same thing here. I see it. Good. There's guys here. So that's where we were just at. We were underneath the Bank of America Tower. This is the Boeing building in Chicago. Boeing moved most of their headquarters to Washington, D.C. And there's the Randolph Street Bridge, the western half in the upright position here. Hey, we made it across. Good. I know, isn't this amazing? Look at that, there it is. There's the Randolph Street Bridge. The Lake Street's still kind of open, yeah. You got it there, that's good. See, people are coming out to take photos. Yeah, that's good. So we got 9 sailboats. The last ones are still making it through there. Here, let's head over here, let's check it out. Hey, thanks for tuning in here, Amanda. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, Amanda, Myrna, Taylor, Alicia, how you doing there? Yeah, check it out. Amanda Flight. Yeah, there's a lot of sketchy buildings in Chicago. There's a lot of sketchy people too. That's the Civic Opera House there. So here we'll wait for the Randolph Street Bridge to start to close. But they might open. They might open. See, we just made it across. We just made it across the Washington Street Bridge. Yeah, I'm Brian Rolley, Chicago. How you doing? Hey, do you want to be on camera? Is that okay?
Sure, yeah.
Hey, what's your name?
My name's Lloyd. Nice to meet you. I actually work in this office right here.
That's great. You got a perfect location. Have you seen this before, the bridge lift?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's kind of a pain in the ass sometimes. You're stuck on one side of the road, but,
I know.
It's nice.
People often ask, are people delayed for work or, you know.
Yeah, so if you're stuck on one side, you're here for like 5-10 minutes, you know. So I think you pay if you gotta go back to the office and stuff.
That's good. So. Well, hey, thanks for saying hello. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching.
Around, so I'm like, yeah, it's him. So.
You know, I'm on YouTube. I'm streaming on YouTube now because I still post content to TikTok, but I don't know what's happening with TikTok. So I'm on YouTube. So thanks, appreciate it. Hey, say thanks for sharing. That's great. That's awesome. Say, hey, look, he works right here. He checked out the boats going through here. I really appreciate that. And yeah, he's able to see the bridge. But he's got a perfect spot. I bet they could see it from their office. You know, they could, there's the Randolph Street Bridge going down there. Very nice. See, friends and neighbors. Yeah, you're right. Michael Rodriguez, friends and neighbors. Isn't that great? Almost daily we run into people, and that's what I feel more connected to my Chicago community, people that live here, work here, same as me, you know. And that was so nice for him to say hello. You heard my loud voice here. We got a little wind here. Yeah, Isha, Myrna, Phil, Z1E. Yeah, we got a lot of beautiful women. You should watch me in the summertime when we walk by Oak Street Beach and North Avenue Beach. Many beautiful women and men in Chicago. So check out the reruns there. Here's Randolph Street. There's Lucia. But just don't try to use my channel as a dating app. We've had people that acted like they were cast members of the Chicago Fire. They were trying to hit on women and my moderators, and they had a picture of some famous movie star. They were trying to portray themselves and probably steal their identity and their money. So don't be that way. But here we'll wait for the Washington Boulevard Bridge to go. I don't trust anything on the internet. A lot of people, you know, people can use filters. So beauty's in the eye of the beholder. You know, fake eyelashes, fake skin, fake. They make the eyes look bigger. You know, this is not a filter. You had a long, tough day. Oh, Isha. Oh, it is exhausting. Well, hey, well, thanks for working in the healthcare. I support anybody in the healthcare industry. I have aunts and relatives that work in hospitals and nurses and work with the doctors, and we often pass the people in the blue scrubs. They're coming out of Northwestern in the children's and the women's hospital there in Streeterville on our way to work, and I always try to give them a shout out because you're what got us through the pandemic. And first responders and doctors and nurses, and we thank all you people who work at the hospital. Here's Washington Boulevard. So I hope you can get some rest there. You watch these bridge lifts here. We'll entertain you here. There's the Washington Bridge. Both sides are opening. Look how nice that looks. This is Chicago, Illinois. They're doing a Basque bridge lift. We got 9 sailboats head through. It's pretty windy, so I know it's hard to hear me. Here's the Civic Opera House. Welcome to the windy city. See how the wind's affecting the water, and I'm sure it's affecting these boats because even though their sails are down, they're still getting blown around by the wind, because when you're in the water, and once they start going here, you'll watch these sailboats go through the Washington Boulevard Bridge. Yeah, salute to the healthcare warriors. There you go. Thanks, Phil. Yeah, someday you can retire and enjoy it. February has Chicago Theater Week. Okay, I'll look it up. Yeah, so we'll look for that in February there. There you go. So here, look at the sailboats heading through Washington Boulevard here. Thanks for tuning in, Chicago, Illinois. Here we got a bridge lift. This is usually when people start tuning in here, so we might get more people tuning in. My regularly scheduled broadcast time slot here, noon to 1. There's the old Chicago Daily News building there. Traffic stop. There's Ogilvie Station. This is Washington Boulevard in the upright position here, both sides. There's the Civic Opera. Now we're having to use the Citizen Kane. Tara, sister, 1973. So, there's a few people that live on their boats in the summertime, but they mostly go down to warmer areas in the wintertime. And I'm sure, I mean, Chicago has a great boating community. I'm sure most of these are people that live in Chicago. They don't live on their boats. They're taking them to winter storage. I did see a houseboat in Belmont Harbor, but it's gone now. The last time they already moved it out of there, at least the last time I checked. Or maybe it was just out sailing or something. But there's not, I don't know anybody that lives on their boat year-round. Some of the boats are able to stay year-round in Marina City or River City. River City is the other Bertrand Goldberg that's on the South Branch. We noticed in the wintertime, they do have some boats in the water, and the Summer of George boat moors there in the wintertime as well, I think. And, but I don't know if anybody lives full-time. Yeah, the wind. Yeah, welcome to the Windy City. Here, look at that nice view of the Washington Boulevard Bridge there in the upright position. Thanks for tuning in here. Wednesday, October the 22nd here, 2025. We're just before the noon hour here. We made it through several bridges. We've been following along since like 10:30. And I know I need to get back to work at some point here, but I'm easily distracted by these bridges here. We've got 1158. We'll be able to make it all the way to the Sears Tower, these 9 sailboats. Look at the Civic Opera building. Look, if we zoom in here, let me show you the detail of this building while we're waiting here. There's the Civic Opera building. They got the theatrical mass there. Look at the top. Look at that detailing. Civic Opera House here, Chicago, Illinois. And they use this as a brief image of it in the movie Citizen Kane there with Orson Welles. His wife wanted to be an opera singer, and so he like bought it out and tried to make her a star, but it didn't work. Here's the Washington Boulevard Bridge lowering here as the Chicago's First Lady goes through it here. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, we were talking about, there was somebody on a bike one time, and they were trying to lift the bridge, and they wouldn't get off the bridge, and they were confused, and everybody on the boats were like, get off the bridge, and the guy on the bridge house was like, get off the bridge, and the guy on the bike was like, what? And then he eventually realized that I was filming it the whole time we were laughing. He was like, oh, I guess I got to get off the bridge for you to lift it, you know, and I'm like, what did he think? He was going to ride it up like the Blues Brothers, you know? But sometimes you'll see workers, like when one side doesn't lift, like see they inspect the bridges, and sometimes you'll see them underneath. But one time in the late 1970s, the CTA L train, elevated trains, fell off the track there at Lake and Wabash, and that people died in that. That was a pretty memorable. And they've since fixed that curve to make it so it's nearly impossible for the train to come off the track there. Here's the Lyric Opera Bridge, Madison Street. Here's the Madison Street Bridge opening. There's the Mercantile Exchange, the Merc. It's the Chicago Board of Exchange. And yeah, let's check out this bridge lift here. Wes, how you doing? Southwest Iowa. That's good. Well, hey, thanks for tuning in. That's why we do this. We're sharing, so you don't have to travel here. You can stay and just tune in and see what's happening in Chicago. There's the to North Riverside. You get to Ogilvie Station. You get to the Chicago water taxi there. Oh, it's making noise. Madison Street Bridge there. Look at that. Everybody came out here to see it. Very nice. So this is the Madison Street Bridge in the upright position here. We're heading over on, this is all above railroad tracks. This is all air rights above train tracks that go into Union Station, Chicago, Illinois. See, there's the Mercantile Exchange, 2 buildings there. That's the largest futures market in the world right there for stock futures, commodities futures. Kind of came out of the Chicago Board of Trade. And there's the Lyric Opera Bridge, the Madison Street Bridge here, Chicago, Illinois. We're almost to Monroe Street here. So why are people so concerned about when I'm at work and not? It just makes me paranoid. I know people are just trying to make conversation. You know, I'll get back to work when I get back to work. I'll get my work done. You know, if I lose my job, so be it. I know you're just making conversation. I'm not angry. It's just, you know, as unique and individuals we all think, we all kind of think in patterns, and this includes me. Like the same question you think, and I know you're new to this channel, I appreciate it. The same people, but I'll get back to work by 1 o'clock. I'll get back to work. Oh, you're just wondering how long I'm going to film. Okay, good. So yeah, I'll probably stick around the river until at least 12:20 or 12:30. So we'll try to film as many bridges as we can until 12:20. Then I have to walk across the loop to make it back to the office by 1. This came up before where people are just they just are curious, you know. Bridge is about to open here. There's the Sears Tower. Look at that nice view we got to the Sears Tower here, Chicago, Illinois. And I know they call it something else, but I can't remember. Here's the Madison Street Bridge. There's the Madison Street, the Lyric Opera Bridge starting to come down here. Pete, how you doing? Yeah, they want to know if I'm slacking. Yes, I am slacking. Yes, I'm a lazy person. Yes, I don't want to work. I want to just beat on my drum all day. And we're in good company here. I wish I could just live stream all day, but I can't. TikTok kicked me out of the Creator Fund. All these companies are doing corporate stock buybacks. Apple, Google, Alphabet does corporate stock buybacks. TikTok pays like crap. They'd rather pay their shareholders than their creators. And they're just milking us like cows. So I'm pretty salty that I can't make enough from social media to quit my day job. Here's the Madison Lyric Opera Bridge House here. But I can't rely on these social media companies because they ban our accounts all the time. And so, you know, we saw people with over 1 million people that their content was benign. And for technical reasons, they got their account suspended. They lost all their revenue stream. Why would you want to be in business partnership with a corporation that treats its associates this way? They treat us like crap. There's nobody on the line answering the call. We're talking to a robot. They treat us like robots, so I'm going to treat them like robots. I'm pretty angry at TikTok right now. Here's Monroe Street. Monroe Street. And every time somebody brings up my job, it just reminds me that here I am, a grown man, you know, in middle age, and I'm worried about money, like everybody in this country is worried about money. We got billionaires that run our government, both for the Democratic Republican Party, and they don't relate to the common man. We got senators and Congress people that are invested in stocks that don't know how us working paycheck to paycheck are just struggling. And how you doing? Oh, hey, I'm on my way. How you doing? Hey, what's your name?
Patty.
Patty, nice to meet you. Thanks for saying hello. Appreciate it. Thanks. That's good. Thank you. Yeah, you heard me complaining. See, she heard somebody ranting and raving. She said, "Oh, that must be Brian Really Chicago," because there he is whining. He's whining about his job. Yeah, she knew me. See, my reputation precedes itself. That's good. She got me out of it. That's good. Thank you. Thanks for saying hello, friends and neighbors. Very nice. Yeah, we need to eat the rich. And I don't really want to destroy them like, you know, like the overthrow of the Russian Empire. I just want, like, to share the wealth. You know, I won't even bring up the President of the United States wanting the taxpayers to pay his court fees $230 million when he's making money off the government and no one cares. You know, certainly Congress doesn't care, or the Republican Congress. Here's the Monroe Street Bridge opening here. Wow, look at the 9 sailboats here. There we go, look at that. Look at that, Monroe Street. Look at the Sears Tower there. Look at that beautiful view. Welcome to Chicago here. We got October the 22nd, 2025. We got a good old-fashioned bridge lift here. The Monroe Street Bridge is opening to let 9 sailboats head into winter storage here, October the 22nd, 2025. We got 1207. Yeah. Let's see. Ron, how you doing there, Michael? Sister, T-Line Tea Time, Merc. Yeah, Kevin. Thanks everybody for tuning in here. Going through the comments here. Yeah, where's the British Navy at? Yeah, you could look into it. I don't know off the top of my head. People always ask how much stuff costs. I think the city provides this as a service. I think the Chicago Department of Transportation, they do this Wednesdays and Saturdays. And I guess it was the taxpayers subsidize all this. You know, I don't know if there's any fee. I guess I should ask some of the boaters. I really don't know because I don't own a boat. I don't own a sailboat. I just film this, you know. That's a good question. Does anybody else know? Take the Saluki train down to Champaign and Effingham. There's the Monroe Street Bridge in the upright position here. Hey, they're already opening Adams. Look how fast we go now. They're really trucking here. Look how fast Adams Street is going up there. And we'll make it all the way to Jackson probably before they... Oh, sorry. There you go. Hey, there it is. Look at that. They're racing. They're really moving here. We'll follow along with these 9 sailboats. See, that one's still going underneath Monroe. And here we're up to Adams Street. We'll get some nice views of the Sears Tower here. Chicago, Illinois. Hey, isn't this cool? Hey, you're waiting for your groceries. That's good. There's no fee for the public to view the sailboats. There are fees to enter the bridge house for special events. Now, do we know if the boats themselves, the sailboats, do they pay any fee to be able to go under the bridges? You know, is there a toll for the bridges? Or is it, maybe the harbor fees pay for it as well. I don't know. Because, you know, of course, all these got to pay for a boat slip to be in the harbor. They say a boat is a hole in the lake you throw your money into. There's There's the Monroe Street Bridge lowering. Let's watch this for a second here. Chicago Mercantile Exchange, we're looking north on the South Branch of the Chicago River. The loop of Chicago is all this way. There's the Sears Tower. And these people have gathered to watch these bridges raise and lower. They just have to register. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. Thanks, David Kopp. I think they just have to register. Yeah, the city of Chicago, the Chicago Department of Transportation does this with the normal operations of the transportation department of the city. And it's a service. It's a service, you know. And these are working bascule drawbridges. To me, this is one of the most interesting things that happen in the spring and fall. If you like skyline views of Chicago, to be able to catch this. It is free to watch, like they said. You just walk along the river walk. I guess there are observation points where you could pay, like you pointed out there. That's good. There's Union Station. There's the largest passenger station by volume of passengers. Commuter station, because the Amtrak is also the regional hub for Amtrak in the Midwest. And of course, Ogilvie, Lasalle Street Station, Millennium Station. We got several commuter train stations in Chicago. Here's the Adams Street Bridge in the upright position here. There's the 311 South Wacker here. There, look at that. Look at this beautiful scene. So there's still traffic moving across Jackson. So I don't know. We'll stick around here. There, it's starting to lower. Watch how fast this lowers here. We'll back away. So of course you can see the Mercantile Exchange in the background here. Here's the Adams Street Bridge quickly lowering here. Chicago, Illinois, October the 22nd, 2025. We got about 48 degrees. It's pretty chilly today, but at least it's not raining. And look at all these boats. We got 9 sailboats, and we got the Evening Star blowing its horn because it's getting congested again. It gets really congested. You see these sailboats, and they're telling them to get out of the way. Get out of our way. See, we see a lot of Amish and Mennonites that use the Amtrak in Union Station, and I always enjoy seeing the Amish and Mennonite families wait for their layovers for their Amtrak trains. And sometimes we see them they you know, for everybody that thinks that Chicago's so dangerous, I've seen the Amish and Mennonite go up to the Lincoln Park Zoo, take the bus, take transit, go through the loop of Chicago. Usually they travel in groups, but it's good to use the buddy system, and they're not afraid of Chicago. They have to travel through here through the Amtrak. And look at the Sears Tower. There it is. They're checking out the sights here. And they get to watch. They're watching the same thing as us. They're watching the bridge lift here. Look at that's great. We got the security. How you doing here? Look at the wonderful Evening Star. All the boats here. Okay, you probably missed earlier in my stream when we addressed this. So Wednesdays and Saturdays they do the bridge lifts only in the fall and the spring. They only do it in the fall to let the boats into the winter storage. They do it in the spring to let them out to the lake. They do it Wednesdays and Saturdays. And they don't do it all the time. It depends on if they get enough boats that register and how the weather is. But they do it around lunchtime. They do it around lunchtime, and it doesn't impact traffic as much as you think, because you can easily go over one block and use the other bridge that just closed. See, look, they just closed that bridge, and look how quickly people can walk across it there. You know, that's why the bascule bridges were such a vast improvement over the previous system, which they turned in the center like a spinner, and all kinds of weird things happened, like they would drive cattle to cross the bridge in the old days, and then for some reason the bridge would start turning and the cattle would stampede and all run in the river. Like weird things would happen like that. But here they're about to open the Jackson Boulevard Bridge. So we got people talking about crime. Yeah, we're used to that. Welcome to my life for the past 3 years. Every single day, we know Chicago has crime. You know, is there anything else we can talk about? You want to talk about anything to do with the sailboats? How you doing? There's the water taxi. Mary Trees, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Look, we got the Jackson Boulevard Bridge. Thanks for being on. And then if we head over here, we can see this building with the map on it. This is the building with part of the loop. There's the 311 South Wacker. And then here's the Jackson Boulevard Bridge opening for the sailboats here. And see how we'll get closer to it, you'll be able to see it. But here's the 9 sailboats. There's the water taxi here. There's Jackson Boulevard Bridge opening. We're right by Union Station here. Yeah, I'm glad they're able to see this here. They're waiting for their train here. This is great. Checking out a bridge lift here. Yeah, look at that. Wow, look at the sailboat. How you doing? There's the Jackson Street Bridge opening there. We got 9 sailboats here. How you doing? Very nice. Here, we'll keep going here. See, they got a map there. So you see how that's the South Branch, Chinatown's down there, that's Roosevelt. There's the Ida B. Wells. That red thing is where that building is, and that's where we're at. And we started there, they went around, there's the loop of Chicago, it's the map. We're down at Jackson here. Let's go out here where they're at. Yeah, look at this nice perch here. We can go around and film this. We've actually gone to the Climate Action Museum over there. There's the Jackson Street Bridge here. So they got Van Buren, and then it's the Ida B. Wells, and then they go to Harrison, and then once they get through Harrison, they can start heading towards Chinatown. It's just the Roosevelt Bridge, and then they can go down to Cermak. So they've already come a long way, these 9 sailboats. We've been following along here. Yeah, D. Michael always gives us the weather in the Mojave Desert there. We appreciate that. Thanks, D. Michael. Thanks. D. Michael always gives us good jokes. Or sometimes they're not good, but most of them are good. I'm messing with you, D. Michael. We like you. We like your jokes here. That's good. Thanks for tuning in. So while we're over here, let's check on the construction of Union Station. So I'm going to walk through Union Station. We go through here every once in a while where they do the Jackson Street entrance. And yeah, see, there's Jackson Street Bridge in the upright position. It's kind of lower. I think we've seen enough bridge lifts. If you missed the bridge lift, you can rewind this and watch this. Yeah, she said, oh, they're coming out of the train and they get to see a bridge lift. So let's go through, quickly we'll go through Union Station, and then we'll head back across the loop, and I'll head back to work so people can stop asking me, when am I going back to work? I know people are wondering how long I was going to live stream, and I misinterpret things. I'm a very paranoid person, which is not the quite right type of personality for live streaming on the internet. Connection in the thick walls of Union Station here. So we'll head down to the grand waiting area, and we'll go by the Metro. You can catch Metro trains here, Amtrak trains. There's an Amtrak waiting area. There's a really nice Amtrak VIP lounge if you're going to take the sleeper cars. I think they call it the Metropolitan Lounge. Hey, you can go to Louisville, the Bourbon City. Go get some Kentucky bourbon there. Go to Louisville, watch the Kentucky Derby, and get you a Louisville Slugger bat. Here's Amtrak. And so we'll head through here. This is how you get to the Amtrak waiting area. We're in Union Station, Chicago, Illinois. I don't know if I'm losing my connection or not. Man, BT, how you doing there? D. Michael. That's a classic D. Michael joke. That's great. I like that one. Thanks. So here's that's where you get the Amtrak. There's we'll head out to the this is how you get to the main historic waiting area of Union Station, that what they used in the Untouchables with the baby carriage scene. And we'll head by the Metropolitan Lounge here. There's other people walking through here. Main rotunda here. See, here's the map where all the Amtrak trains go all over the nation. Chicago's a hub. See, they're doing construction. But here's the Grand Hall, Union Station, celebrating 100 years, the 100th year anniversary of Union Station. If you ever seen Silver Streak, they use this with Richard Pryor. Also, there was a movie called On the Right Track with Gary Coleman that was filmed here. And of course, most famously, The Untouchables. I think they've used it in other movies, gangster movies about the 1920s Prohibition era, because this was here in the 1920s, at least the late 1920s. And look at that amazing 2-all trains. What a great way to enter a city. Here's the Amtrak VIP Metropolitan Lounge here. Here's the waiting area for Union Station. And we'll show you the stairs where, we'll walk up the stairs where the famous baby carriage scene happened in The Untouchables. You can get out to Clinton Street. Look at the flag. This is a neoclassical Roman Renaissance architectural style. See the columns, the octagon on the roof there. Classical Roman architecture. And Union Station, Illinois, connecting the world to Chicago. So that's how it used to look. Let's look at these historic pictures of Union Station as it celebrates its 100th anniversary. See a lot of the Amish and Mennonites, they wait here because they take the trains, they don't fly. And I always enjoy seeing them here in the Union Station part of America. Here's the, that's what Union Station used to look like. It's hard to see with the, but here, we'll head through here. There are 2-all trains. Look at the statues. Yeah, I'm going too fast. Well, I know it's hard. Thank you. Here, let me here. I'll stop. I'll stop so you can take a screenshot. So if you want to take a screenshot, I'll stop here for a second. Nice flag there. Union Station, Chicago, Illinois. And see this is where the famous baby carriage scene happened in the Untouchable movies. The Untouchable movie there with Kevin Costner and Andy Garcia. The famous baby carriage scene where they were trying to get Al Capone's book a carriage in slow motion. They had a shootout here. This is where the baby carriage scene happened in the Untouchable movies there. Out this way, they're working on Canal Street, so we're going to have to walk around. What time we got here? 12:23. To the Civic Opera House, where they got this big colonnade that surrounds the grand waiting room there for the Union Station, Chicago. I see Amtrak. Now I got to get back to work. I got to walk across the loop here. So, yeah, we always buffer when we go in Union Station. Get used to it. It's the nature of live streaming. Thanks for letting me know. We should be fine now since we're back outside. And we'll wait to cross the street here. There's some road rage going on. There's always somebody cussing. But see, look, there's a street below this. Actually, it's the railroad tracks are below this. And there's a street. This is Canal Street. And for the past year, this has been under construction. And they actually had like a sprung tent structure that went across there where they were working on it. And there's the Sears Tower. We already saw the bridge lift. They're already probably moving down towards Harrison Street by now. And we'll head right by the Sears Tower. We'll head across the loop. This is the beginning of the West Loop. Ogilvy Station's up that way. We just saw Union Station, which is there. There's Union Station. We were just inside there. And we'll head back across Chicago River. We'll go by the Sears Tower. I don't have time to go up in the top there. I got to get back to work because people in the comments keep reminding me about work and making me feel guilty about streaming this long as lunchtime. So I'll go back to work and stop live streaming. Thanks for reminding me about work. Yeah, Sears Tower, you got it. You got it. That's the name of the company that built it. There's the Mercantile Exchange. Yeah, thanks for being concerned about my security, Amanda. Can you believe that? Oh, look at the pigeons. Look at the pigeons. And to illustrate the sign of the times, the polarized world we're living in now. It's not just one. Several of my fellow not just live streamers, but content creators, people that produce content on TikTok and YouTube. They're getting death threats, like real death threats. They're afraid to go out because there are social media people that have political content that have been disappeared, and we don't know if ICE took them. And I'm not trying to spread conspiracy theories, but they might have just bowed under political pressure. They got death threats, so they stopped posting content, and they kind of went under the radar, and we don't know where they're at because they're literally scared. And you know, for all the people, you know, I don't want to even go here, you know, because it'll just unleash the political trolls. But we're living in weird times, and I think other people sense it too. We feel it more in cities like Chicago, Portland, LA, for obvious reasons. And but thanks for being nice in the comments. And you know, you can make fun of me, but just don't make it personal. Don't troll my moderators. Don't troll me. You know, we're just good people trying to do the best we can. You don't have to like this city or what we talk about or what I talk about. I guess it's incumbent on me to keep things civil. And we know other people have different opinions. Not everybody's going to agree with my opinion. I just have to talk about something. I have to react to things in the comments. So here's the Sears Tower. Here's Wacker Drive. And we'll head back to work here. So people always are like, oh, how can you live in Chicago? It's so dangerous. I think the internet is a far more dangerous place because you can get robbed on the internet and you can get your identity stolen on the internet. And a lot of scary stuff happens on the internet that destroys people's lives. And you're on the internet right now, so are you scared? No, I'm not scared to walk down the streets of Chicago. You're not scared to be on the internet. That's good. You got Norton's. So here's the Sears Tower. We're heading down Adams Street here. We're heading east. Thanks, Myrna. Thanks for understanding. Thanks for being a cool audience here and my great moderators. I really appreciate it. And just keep things civil. I need to tone it down myself. I need to start with myself. In order to change the world, I have to change myself first. And be a better person. Try not to get so agitated and reactive to the comments, because a lot of times it's all in my own head and I'm just reacting to things. And most people are just joking around and not taking it that seriously anyway. So I need to do the same. So here, let's cross Franklin Street, and we'll head through the loop in Chicago. Here's the train, the Orange Line, pulling out of the Quincy station on the loop of Chicago here. Here's Franklin Street looking north there. See, they put it, the Franklin and Adams, they put it on the side of the building there. Blackwood Barbecue, you go to Blackwood Barbecue, I can smell it there. I'm getting hungry. Yeah, the Burkhoffs. Yeah, I'll walk all the way down to the Burkhoffs. Since you mentioned Burkhoffs, I see the sign all the way down there. There's Burkhoffs, so we'll head all the way down Adams. This is Route 66. This heads straight to the Art Institute of Chicago, Route 66. Adams Street in Chicago. We're Adams and Wells here almost. Yeah, I'll take some time to eat. That's why I'm heading back to the office. I'll get some lunch and I'll eat it at my desk. I already had breakfast. Don't worry, I ate breakfast at my desk about 9:30, so I'm doing fine. I appreciate it. Thanks for having empathy. Thanks for being a cool person that has empathy. Unlike Shady Vance that says empathy is a bad word, and then he wants to be our leader. I would want any leader of any nation to have some empathy, especially even for people they don't agree with politically. Here's here it is. Look at that. There's the pink line. The pink line's pulling out of the Quincy station here. This is the loop of Chicago, the western side of it here. And we'll head straight down Adams Street all the way to Burkhoff's. German Fair. They got the #1 liquor license. 12:30 on the dot. Yeah, empathy. I think a lot of the laws, you know, they always talk about the Judeo-Christian read Jesus' teachings and the Beatitudes. I'm not a very religious person. I'm pretty secular, but I enjoy the wisdom of the ancients there and read the Beatitudes there. Blessed are the meek. We got to use the words of the Bible against the people trying to use the Bible against us. They want to use the Old Testament, the vengeful God, the God that punishes. If why is there an Old Testament and New Testament? Christianity had to be reformed. Before it was Judaism. It wasn't Christianity until, and then there was a schism. There's people that stayed with Judaism, and there's people that went to Christianity. And Islam, Christianity, and Judaism are all based upon the first 5 books of the Bible. The first 5 books of the Quran are the same as the first 5 books of the Old Testament and the Talmud. Isn't that amazing? It all comes from Abraham. And the myths of Genesis, or the word, if you believe, some people believe it's the divine word of God. Here's Lasalle Street. We were on Lasalle Street yesterday. There's the Board of Trade. This was used also in the Untouchables. It was used in Public Enemies, and it was used in the Batman movies and Transformers, perhaps. And here's the Rookery building. We got footage of that. There's the Federal Reserve. And we'll go down Adams Street towards the Burkhoff here. Here's the LaSalle State Bank building. So on this corner right here, or in this block, is where the original home insurance company, William LeBaron Jennings' first skyscraper, 10 stories tall. It was right here on LaSalle Street, and they tore it down to build this building, the LaSalle State Bank building. And it takes up a half a block. And it was built in 1930, just like the Empire State Building at the beginning of the Great Depression in Chicago. We're on Adams Street near Clark. Yeah, paganism. We just saw the Ceres statue on top of the Board of Trade. The Ceres statue, the Greek goddess to cereal, Ceres, corn, grain. The corn exchange, which became the Board of Trade Commodities Exchange. And there's a Ceres bar there. You could hang out with the high rollers there. They used to hang out in open outcry pits. We'll go by the Federal Plaza. This is Clark Street, Loop of Chicago. Look at these buildings here. So here we got the light. We were down that way. Yesterday, we went down to the edge of the South Loop. Yeah, he's riding the bike there. So there's a post office. Let's go through this. Go through the post office. This should be public. So this is Mies van der Rohe. This is here. Look at the dog. Here, I'll help you out. This is the last remaining post office that I know of in the Loop of Chicago here. And look how there's no interior columns. You see how the roof seems to float. This is what Mies van der Rohe wanted. And see how the columns line up with the grid of the granite, and it's called mullions. And see how the window mullions line up with the grid, the graph paper of the international style. And this is the U.S. Post Office here in downtown Chicago. You see how you can look out to the Calder flamingo sculpture. I've used this post office before. There was one in the bottom of the Aon building, but they removed that after the pandemic. They consolidated a lot of their services, probably due to budget cuts and things like that. And here's a post office here, downtown Chicago. Mies van der Rohe designed this. And Mies van der Rohe designed this Federal Plaza, his international style. Same like Philip Johnson, the glass box. And here's the Calder statue. Same guy that did the Mobile, famous Mobile there in JFK. And there's the Flamingo Calder statue there in the Federal Plaza. We saw J.B. Pritzker here. Here's the media. They're doing a news report right there. She's waiting for to be live there. They got the satellite hookup. Hey, how you doing? That's good. So there's the Calder there. We'll let her do her job. So, I wanted to cross the street there, but I just missed the light there, so we'll stay on this side because I want to show Burkhoff's here, so we'll wait to cross the street. Yeah, she's getting ready to do her lunchtime broadcast there for the lunchtime news. What time we got here? 12:35. These cars are waiting, so we're gonna run. Thank you. We got crowds here. Hey, they still have Oktoberfest. I think that was from September. Yeah, that's already ended there. It just ended the Oktoberfest at the Burkhoff's. But yeah, so there's the Marquette building. We go in that several times. That's Hollerberg and Roche, another early vintage steel frame construction skyscraper with the Chicago windows. And there's Burkhoff's German restaurant. Look, they're taking a picture in front of it. You got the liquor license number 1. I'll show you liquor license number 1 as long as the bartenders don't. They're okay with it. They'll decorate this for the holidays. They'll have, pretty soon we'll come by at Christmas time and they'll have all the garland and lights up. But they just got finished with Oktoberfest. This is a German fare restaurant, Burkhoff's, here on Adams Street since 1898. It's closed a few times, and as I often point out, they did not allow women at the bar until the 70s. Gloria Steinem had to do a public protest because the old bars would not allow women until the 70s. Can you believe that? And here it is, liquor license number 1. Liquor license number 1, the Burkhoff, 1933, 1934, 1935. Let's see if I can get it here. I'm just trying to fill the liquor licenses there. They got the number 1 liquor license there. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your conversation. You know that? That's the number 1 liquor license from after. Yeah, they got 1, 2, and 3. Look at that. Yeah, see, you got something to talk about. That's good. Yeah, see, they're sitting right by a historical relic there. This is Burkhoff's here. You come here and I smell the sausage here. And look, yeah, so we'll keep going here. Never going back to Texas, Florida, Arizona. Now I understand that I have to go back to Texas because I have family. My sister, my brother-in-law, my nephews live there. So, but yeah, it's hard. You know, we're becoming a very divided nation. The reds and the blues and the purples, and you know, it's hard. But we'll find some way to keep it together. We've gone through these periods before. We'll get through this. Here's State Street. We'll head up State Street. We got 1238. So we'll just head up State Street from Adams Street. Thanks for tuning in here. We saw the bridge lift. I'm going to head back to the office here. So we'll just check out the mums on State Street. See if there's any skeletons left. They had some skeletons they had dressed up here. We'll see if there's still any out. Yeah, Austin's nice. Austin's a nice city. I've live streamed in Austin. We were there December of 2023, and I live streamed there, both on YouTube and TikTok. That was when Texas was one of the final 4 teams, and we went up Guadalupe Street there by the University of Austin, and they were playing the Yellow Rose of Texas there with Bevo, the mascot for the Texas Longhorns. My brother-in-law loves that team, and yeah, Austin's a cool. Their skyline's growing like crazy. In Austin, you think Chicago's expensive. Austin is just as expensive as Chicago now, as far as housing prices. Elon Musk moved there, or has a house there. He has houses everywhere, but he really doesn't have. He doesn't really buy big mansions, like you know. I think he sold some of his other houses. I don't know much about it. I'm talking to my blood here. I know. Why did I even bring that up? But you got to talk about something. It's because his SpaceX he moved his SpaceX operations from California to Texas. It's down there by Brownsville, where Diana used to live. South Padre Island. South by Southwest, yeah. I would love to do some streaming with South by Southwest in March. Check out the hotel prices in March in Austin for South by Southwest. Good luck. Hey, we got some Halloween here, Five Below. We got October the 22nd here. Himishu, how you doing there? Margie's in Austin. That's good. Barton Springs, yeah, the Barton Springs pool. They got, yeah, you go up to the hill country. They got all kinds of interesting stuff, yeah. I've gone to Fredericksburg. There's a Nimitz Museum there, World War II. He's from Texas. Texas is green. Well, East Texas is like the piney woods in their swampland near Beaumont, and then the further west you go, the more arid it gets. Once you get to the hill country, you start to see cactus and tumbleweeds and armadillos, but there's still little trees and live oak trees. But then once you get out to West Texas, past the Pecos, it looks like Arizona. You know, it's desert, mountains, and El Paso. Do you know Texarkana is close to Chicago as it is to El Paso? And that shows you how wide Texas is. And it's pretty tall from the Panhandle down to Brownsville. But here we're on State Street in Chicago. We're heading up, we're just crossing Madison Street. Madison Street, the center of the loop here, State and Madison. There's the Carson Prairie Scott. There's the Louis Sullivan Chicago style windows. Beautiful ornamentation we got. Here's some of the skeletons. Here's one of my favorite ones. It's got the spaghetti on its head there. There's the skeletons on State Street here. It's sponsored by the Italian Village. We see the Italian Village there by the Chase Plaza there. There's the skeleton with the spaghetti. See, this is what happened. This skeleton lost its head, and somebody took it, so they just moved it here. And the Willis Tower. See, look, there's for anybody that was mad at me calling it the Sears there, it says the Willis Tower. Skeletons on State. Hey, Chicago Loop Dentistry. She's wearing a nice little tutu there. I like her hairdo. Oh, she's got a toothbrush. There's the skeleton there. Skeletons on State. Actually, it's looking nice. Hey, we'll still look for Halloween decorations tonight. Thanks for tuning in here, Loop of Chicago. Leftover from Grim Evils? Yeah, go ahead, man. Sorry. See, there's the mad scientist over there. No, it's the conductor. I think it's the conductor with the hair. But here, let's check out. This is the Hot Ticks. Promoting the hottix.org here. Skeletons on State. The Fall Feeder Guide. Oh, so it lost its head too, so they put a pumpkin there. Somebody took the head. They found a way to salvage it. And we noticed one day we came here in the morning and a lot of the heads were missing. Somebody played a prank and stole the heads. But here's the, wow, here's the, look at that, like the lyric opera. There's the lyric opera. They got the nice Grecian toga there. Ah, she's looking nice. Here's DePaul University. We haven't filmed this one. There's the DePaul Blue Devils, Blue Demons, Blue Devils, Blue Demons. Why can't I get that right? My brain leaks. But there's DePaul there. I think that's what I pissed off Dibs one time because I didn't say the right. You know, it shows you I didn't grow up in Chicago because, well, I went to the University of Cincinnati, so we were arch rivals of DePaul at that time. So, yeah, Blue Demons, the DePaul Blue Demons. Maybe I messed up and called it the Blue Devil, but it's the Blue Demons. Hey, they're working on the sidewalk here. Cutting it up. We're at Washington Street and State Street. There's Marshall Fields. We went through there yesterday. Yeah, we'll head up to the Chicago Theater. There's some skeletons across the street. Are there any on this side? Let's see if there's some skeletons over here. How you doing? We got some stuff on the street here. So I don't see any skeletons here, so we'll cross the street. How you doing? And hey, there's the Muddy Waters mural here. We're at, there's the Reliance building here, another vintage skyscraper, Washington, State Street, Chicago. Look, they're cutting the concrete there. There's the pink line. Hey, more skeletons on State. We haven't seen this one. Oh, it's got all the crazy eyes and the flowers. Skeletons on State. I like that. Look at that. This is kind of where Ernesto and I were standing for the Hearts on the Dark parade, which was on Saturday night. Check out this Gemini. This Gemini has an excellent rerun if you want to see that parade. Much better than Ernie and I's choppy coverage here. Here, the Mine Works, the Science of Things. They got the crazy skeletons here. Look how the arms are all messed up. Somebody broke the arms. It shows you, no matter, you know, I know people that have the nice Halloween decorations, there's always a chance of people vandalizing your Halloween decorations. Hey, I like that. I like that skirt. Yeah, you're looking good there. Skeletons on state. Hey, I like your fashion there. Very nice. Yeah, Chicago works. JB, Myrna, Michael, thanks for tuning in there. Here hey, so eventually they'll do Christmas displays. So seems like just yesterday we did the Christmas displays for Macy's. We're probably in less than a month. Beginning in November, once we get past Halloween, they'll have the Christmas displays here. So we'll walk up past the Chicago Theater here. We'll go up to Lake Street, Marshall Fields. There's the clock. Norman Rockwell painted that. There's the Nederlander Theater. We go through all the time. You know where we're at here. Almost back to work here. We'll make it back well before 1 o'clock. So here we're at Randolph and State, Loop of Chicago. There's the Nederlander. Hey, we got the light. Hey, we got some street performer here playing guitar. Look at that! Wow. Yeah, no one's asking you to come here. No one's asking you to visit here, spend any money here, stay away. If you don't like Chicago, that's fine. Thanks for tuning to my live stream. No one's asking anybody to travel here, live here. You can forget we exist in Chicago. Thanks for tuning in. You know, so what? You know, I don't even know where you live. I'm not going to say whether I like or dislike where you live. I'm sure you like it because you live there. You know, you could be from Wisconsin and be a Green Bay fan. It makes all sense. Here's the Chicago Theater Pivot Podcast. David Garrett, Sal Bocano there. Got the ghost sign. They're doing a lot of work on State Street. There's Channel 7 there. There's the Gene Siskel Film Center. What makes you think I'm like you think I work for the city or something? You know, like what? You think I'm like, everybody thinks everything's a promotion? By me showing you how, you know, this is the power of social media. You don't have to come here. You can just watch. Same with New York City or LA or anywhere else, you know. Here, we'll head down Lake Street here. We're going to the L tracks. See, he thinks I'm a tourist too. I must be a tourist because I gotta, looks like I'm vlogging. So to dispel the myths, ICE is not making it safer. ICE is not going after the gangs, they're going after the easy pickings. Why? They're government mercenaries paid to use their own private vehicles, out-of-state vehicles, to meet quotas. And they're going to get the easiest people to get, which are the people working as day laborers. They're going to get the people working in Home Depot trying to get day labor. They're going to work roofers, domestic servants. They're not going after the hardened gang members. They're not, because they'd rather intimidate and profile U.S. citizens and keep running the same people's ID over and over again. People they stop many times because they'll just stop people again. They keep stopping people looking for whatever they're looking for. And they don't apologize. And they're our fellow American citizens doing it to us, you know. And so I'm not going to tolerate anybody cheering part of America, intimidating the rest of America through politics. And I'm talking about this. So here's Wabash. So if you just tuned in, it's 12:49. We're in Chicago. I'm about to end this live stream because I'm going to head back to work because yes, I have a job. And thanks. I appreciate everybody that tuned in for the bridge lift. That was great. Thanks to my moderators. Thanks to everybody on the lunch bunch here. I hope it was a good time there. If you missed any part of it, you can check out the full live rerun. And I'm going to head back to work. We'll be back on after 5 o'clock because I stream on my commute home from work. I walk to and from work. I don't own a car. I'm not independently wealthy. I live in Lincoln Park, which is amazingly expensive housing. I know all my money goes to housing, but I'm happy because I live near the Lincoln Park Zoo. I live near the lake. beautiful area of Chicago, and we stream it every day, and it makes people angry because they see how beautiful it is, and it doesn't match with their image of Chicago, that Chicago is a hellhole because our president says it's a hellhole. And what other president before this one calls parts of America shithole and hellhole, and he governs it, and we don't like what he's doing here? At least I don't like what he's doing here. So you might like it. We must be friends, not enemies. Try not to make it personal. Just because I live here, I'm not your enemy. I'm an American, pay taxes. I work. I'm not like on the government till. I'm not getting paid to protest. That's so insulting. You don't get paid to protest on the right. No one's paying us on the left. Scott Bessent, who is the Treasury Secretary under Trump, worked for George Soros. So any George Soros means has no validity to me because he worked for the same hedge fund that made money for George Soros. And he knows it, he admits it, and he's okay with it. You should be okay with it too. Scott Bessent, who works for the Trump administration, made money from George Soros. So what? You know, get over it. So here, we're gonna head back to work. Michigan Avenue, there's that beautiful building, Wrigley building there. Have a good rest of your day there. Thanks for checking out the reruns. Thanks for your attention. We'll talk to you after 5. Thanks, mods. You guys are great. We'll talk to you later from Chicago. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Okay. Talk to you later. Okay, bye.